Hello everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna and I am an acrylic artist. Thank you so much for stopping by to paint with me today. Today we're going to be painting one of my absolute favorite subjects to paint of all time. Most of you know what that is. It's fruit. Let's take a look and see what we're going to do today. These wonderful cherries. I've titled this Cherry Season. These cherries are a little bit more leaning towards the pink side instead of the red side, so a little bit different in color. Of course, we have the beautiful bokeh effect in the background, which is always a lot of fun for me to create, and some beautiful colors. I used DecoArt Traditions paints on this project. I think it's going to be an easy one, a fun one, and if you love painting fruit as much as I love painting fruit, you're going to have a great time painting this. So let's grab our paints and our supplies and let's get painting. We're going to get started on our piece. I've got an 8x8 wood surface. I've applied a coat of multi-purpose sealer and a coat of multi-purpose sealer with a 2-inch damp foam roller and a coat of just Americana Snow White. Okay, so we've got it to here. Now I want to work on the background, and the reason that I painted it white, because if we were painting on a canvas we would start out with white, and the wood is too dark to start out with, so we need the wood surface to be painted white. I want a really soft blue in the background. So I'm going to load some white and a tiny bit of blue here. This is cerulean blue. So you can use whatever blue you have. An aquamarine would be gorgeous back here. And actually I might get my aquamarine out and try this color. I think I might like this color a little bit better in the background. So I'm going to not worry about that little bit of blue that's in there. I do want a lot of white though. And we're just going to begin adding a soft blue into the background. More white. I'm going to wipe my brush out because there was blue on the edge there. And I want to get that out. Really soft, subtle background. Now this is quinacridone magenta. Okay, no, quinacridone violet. We're using DecoArt Paints today. This one is quinacridone violet. It's a pinky color. So I want a little bit of that and some white. These colors are pretty pigmented, so I'm going to use a little bit and put it in here. A little bit more white. And we want to create some little pink areas in here. I don't want them to turn purple. Let me get my misting bottle. I need to mist this background a little bit. Keep that paint wet. Come up here, gently blend those. I want it a little bit bolder in there. And I'm going to put it in a couple of places. Woo, that's really bold. And let's put a little bit here. Alright, I'm going to have to wash my brush because I don't want the quinacridone to blend with my... I'm going to spritz so it doesn't dry. I'm going to put a little bit more aquamarine up here. I want some a little bit bolder places on here. Okay, wash my brush out. And now I'm just going to load white in my brush. And come in here. Oh, goodness. What that is. And come in here. I'm going to gently go into that blue. Slip slap blend it. This is all background stuff, so we don't have to make it perfect. Just get it soft. Wipe the blue out of my brush, and we'll go down here to the pink area. I picked up a lot of pink, so I'm going to pull that out of my brush and pick up a lot of pink again. And I'm going to have to spritz that. It's not going to move there. And that's nice. That's really nice. Alright, I've got almost too much water here now. Alright, here we go. Alright, I need to grab, I'm going to rinse that pink out. And I need to grab some white. And start, goodness gracious, I'm picking up all kinds of yunky junky stuff here. Okay, I'm going to come way back on the handle here. And just give it a little tickle blend, wipe off when I'm picking up a lot of paint that I don't want to transfer. I want more white here. Wipe off. Need that slightly wet right there. These colors are so bold. You have to really be careful and use small amounts. I need a little water in my brush. There we go. Slip slap. You can use a filbert brush to do this. I'm going to wash my brush out because I just feel like I'm picking up gobs of paint there. Alright, I kind of want a little bit bolder pink in here. Now my paint's starting to dry a little bit, so I'm going to have to start being careful. Like I said, this is all going to be in the background. A little bit bolder there. And I'll just blend it out. Okay, I think I'm going to let that dry and see how it looks. It might dry a little bit lighter or darker. Right here we got a little bit of brush strokes. See if I can get those out without lifting paint. Okay, that background looks pretty cool. I really like it. So let's get it dry. Okay, we're going to start working on adding some bokeh effect into the background. Okay, we're going to use a circle stencil, and you can use glazing medium or extender. Doesn't matter. Glazing medium dries a little bit faster, so that's why I prefer to use it. I'm actually going to put my glazing medium on a separate plate. And I've got two stencil brushes because I don't want to get my pink and my blue mixed together if I want to make some that are a little pink or a little blue, which I definitely will want to do. Okay, so I'm going to start with a few blue ones in the background. So I'm going to load some white paint and a tiny little bit of blue. Make this really soft blue. I'm going to remove most of the paint, get a tiny little bit of glazing medium. This will thin it down a little bit more and make it a little more transparent. And we're just going to start adding these circles in here. Now, when you lift up, if you can't see it, I can see that, but if you can't see it, you might want to add a little bit either white or glazing medium. I'm going to tap the edges of that back because I had a little bit of a raised edge there and I don't want to have that. It's because of that glazing medium that's in there. So just move about your piece and put these on. Don't worry too much about what color is going on top of what, because that's And that one's pretty bright, so I didn't get any glazing medium on my brush that time. Alright, let's go in here. I'm going to keep these circles all the same size, but you can certainly mix that up and create some circles that are in varying sizes. Oh, you probably can't see those two right there very well, but they're on there. I'm going to get a little bit more white and my glazing medium. Tap my paper towel to remove a little bit of it, and then just come in here and very lightly. Okay, that was a little dark, but I think it will work out. I'm going to get a little bit more glazing medium. I'm going to make some pink ones here in a minute and then come back with some pure white ones. So I'm going to do a few more blue ones, but I want that glazing medium in there to keep it transparent. I'm just going to touch the edge there. I don't want it to be, let's see if I turn on my other light. See that a little bit better. I feel like it's just not showing up well for you guys. So I really don't want to put a lot more blue in there, but I might have to get just a touch more blue in the mix. Tap, tap, tap. A little bit more blue. Just tap over some of these that I've already done. Want to lift paint, so let's see, let's put one up here. We won't see this one at all, I don't think. Well, maybe a little bit. It's got enough blue in it, I think we'll see it. And that one I can definitely see is blue. Alright, I'm going to do a couple more blue ones. Then I'm going to do some pink tinted ones. Alright, so I'm going to go to my other stencil brush and grab some white, teeny tiny little bit of that pink. That's powerful color right there. Tap over there, grab some glazing medium and mix it onto my brush with that pink that I mixed. It's going to be really soft and pale. So let's see how it's going to show up on here. Not too bad. Let's go up here, put one up here, and just move all around your painting. Create your little circles. And these are the pink ones. So white and a tiny little bit of pink. I got a ton of pink that time, and some glazing medium in my brush. That will hopefully help keep it a little bit on the transparent side, because I feel like I got tons of paint now. Oops. That one's pretty pink. Little tippy tap. I think I want another blue one, so I'm going to grab my my other brush and go back into some of my blue. Maybe. Definitely need some white in there, so let me grab some white and some glazing medium. Tippy tappy. Okay, I don't want you to get too caught up in everything because this is background stuff. Don't really don't get too intense about it. Okay, maybe another pink one. We're going to start adding some just white ones in here. So you can grab another stencil brush. I'm just going to scrub this onto my paper towel until I remove pretty much all the pink. If it's got a slight tint to it, that's fine. So I'm going to fill my brush with white and then go to my glazing medium and thin it down and then tap, tap, tap. I don't want all that moisture on my brush on the top of it. And we'll start putting white ones in here. We still want these to be, you know, not super bright. We will come and make a few bright ones right on top with a little bit more white. But for now, we're just adding a few in here. A little bit more white and some glazing medium. I think these still have a slight pink tint to them. So I'll have to get a separate brush so I can do pure white ones on here. And they don't have to be a perfect circle. It could be half a circle of some kind. Alright, I think I'm going to get a different brush so we can make some white ones on here. Some pure white ones. So, I'm going to load this brush with some glazing medium first. And then some white paint with that glazing medium. Really work it up into that brush. Take my paper towel, tap tap, and let's make some bold bright ones on here. I like to do the tapping. I like the texture that it gives me, but just regular painting is fine too. So do what you like. A little bit more white, a little bit more glazing medium, blend, 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 work it into that brush, tap, tap, tap. One down here, see that one came off the edge, that's good. One coming off the edge there, one there. I'm going to put some really soft ones up here, so I'm going to try not to get a whole lot of paint up there. We'll end up not seeing a lot up here, but you know, they'll be peeking out, so go ahead and put some in. Alright, a little bit more. Into my brush. Okay. these will definitely stand a little bit more on top because I added a little bit more white in there and didn't add any more extra glazing medium. I love this out of focus look for the background. I just think it is so pretty. I'm going to put a couple up here, although we may not end up seeing them, but I'm going to add them up here because we're going to put some little flower things coming off back there. Alright, I want a couple more white ones. Tap, tap, tap. And this is mostly pure white here. If there's any glazing medium, it's just whatever was in the brush from the last two previous little. Alright, just a few bold, really bright ones. And I want a bright one over here. And I think a piece of one down here. And let's put one here. Let my thumb out of the way there. Alright, I think that's looking pretty good. See if I can get it where you can really see all of those circles on there for that bouquet effect. I think that is so pretty. You can just go crazy with this effect in the background. That one's got a little bit of a raised edge. So does that one. You want to try not to have kind of bold raised edges on there. So less paint in your brush works best. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. So it's just a mixture of a little bit of blue and white, a little bit of pink and white, and glazing medium. Mostly glazing medium until you get to your top final layer of just white. Those are going to be the boldest and the brightest, and they're going to stand on top. If you don't feel like they're bright enough, go back in here. Which one is that one? That one could be a little brighter. Straight white on there. I'm going to make this one a little brighter since it had that little bit of a ridge on it. And there are a couple more that I want to be brighter, so I'm just going to put my stencil back on. I think I'm going to put another one next to this one. A couple of bright ones there. I really think the bright ones I want to be mostly in the center here. And then I want to put a couple of really bright ones down here in this corner. Really getting that bright effect in there now. So I'm just letting my eye float over it to see if there's any place else I want to add one of these a little bit brighter ones. I'm kind of running out of paint now, so they're not going to be as bright as when I started, because I'm starting to run out of paint, but they're still going to stand on top okay. So I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to leave that right there. Like I said, you can do as little or as much as you want to the background, and I did not do very many up here because I want to put some little branches and flowers coming down off the top, so that's going to be mostly covered up there anyway. So I've changed my mind about putting flower things up at the top, so we're going to rough in our branch and our leaves and our cherries here. Oh, that's open. So I'm going to put out some burnt umber. I think a little bit of raw sienna. Or a lot. That was a lot. For the leaves, I'm going to do a little bit of medium green. Oh, goodness. And for the cherries, we're going to undercoat them with a little bit of naphtha red and warm white mix. All right, well, let me grab my brushes. All right, for our branch, let's mix some burnt umber and raw sienna together, and we're just going to kind of rough in our branch here. Just give it a rough little choppy stuff going down. A little bump here and there. Don't be perfect about this, okay? Just a little rough branch. Okay, for our leaves, we're going to go with, what is this, medium green. Trying to decide if I want to add a little burnt umber in there, darken that green a little bit. You can if you want. Just give these a quick little beginning coat. Oops. I'm just using a small flat, an 8 flat. I don't want these leaves to end up being super bright. I don't want them to pull our attention away from the cherries, so we'll definitely be toning them down a little bit. I need some water in my brush. And I'm just giving them a rough, quick coat. I'm not being careful or precise here. A little bit more paint in my brush. One more here. It goes, kind of comes behind that cherry there. These first coats are just easy peasy, nothing to them, okay? All right, for our cherries, we're going to take our red and our warm white and make a little bit of a muted red color. I think I'll actually mix a little bit of burnt umber in with it. Tone it down even more. Oop. I have to make that cherry bigger now. Let me spritz my palette with water because smaller brushes run out of moisture so much quicker. And I need a little bit of moisture in my brush. So I'm going to make that cherry a little bit bigger to fix that going out of the lines there. Alright, so it's our naphtha red, our warm white, and burnt umber. And it's okay if they do not match exactly even better if they don't match. Now, of course, the cherries, I'm trying to stay quite a bit more inside the lines here. Alright, mix a little more white, warm white, burnt umber. 2 more to go here. I can actually add a little bit more red into these two. They're a little closer to us, so they can be a little bit brighter. But it's not necessary. Straighten this side up a little bit. We want our cherries to be nice, so if you've got, you know, any wobbly edges there, go ahead and clean them up and make them nice cherries. Okay, so now everything needs to be dry, and then apply a second coat. Now, again, when we do the limb, we're going to be choppy, choppy, choppy with it. Okay, it was our burnt umber and our raw sienna. Mix them together. And then chop, 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 a second quick little coat in here. I'm not even worrying about if I cover the whole branch. We got stuff to add to that. Okay, and then for the leaves, a little bit of burnt umber in with our green. I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time with my painting in my leaves, the shapes anyway. Make sure this is shaped nicely here. Okay, and this one. A little bit of water in my brush. When I'm painting with the DecoArt Traditions paints, I really like to do a wet on wet kind of blending with these paints. So we'll see how that works out for painting today. I just feel like the pigments in these paints just lean towards doing a blending. Okay, That looks pretty good. These cherries up here I'll probably do a second coat, but these down here look pretty good. So that was our red and warm white and some burnt umber. A little bit of water. Don't need heavy paint here, so mix a little water in with your paint so that it's a thin layer that you're putting on for your second layer. It does not need to be heavy. You're basically filling in spaces that maybe your first coat didn't quite cover. So a thinner paint is actually better for your second coat. So I'll just go ahead on this one. Give me some water and thin that down. And I'll just put a quick little splash of thinned paint on here. I really didn't feel like these down here needed it, but I think I just took all the paint out of the center right there. So I had too much water in my brush. Alright. So those all need to get dry. And then we're going to come back and start adding detail on here. Alright, we're going to start working on the branch now. I did not have a black in my palette to darken up my brown, so we're going to mix a color. Now if you want to grab a black and mix just a tiny bit in with your brown, that's fine. But I think it's important to learn how to mix colors and get colors that you would like. So I've got my green and my red and my blue that we used in the background. And the green we use for the leaves, so I'm going to dip into each color one time and mix them together. And we've created this wonderful dark color that we can now use on our branch. And it's got the colors that we've used within our painting so far, so it's going to make it a little more cohesive. I could go down to a much smaller angle brush here. I'm really up on the tippy toe of this brush, just going along the bottom edge, darkening that a little bit. Just kind of pity-patting it along there. Got a dark edge on our branch there. That was incredibly easy. Now we're going to take some of our raw sienna. Oh, goodness. And we're going to add a little bit of warm white. The only thing I don't like about the tubes here is that I always squirt out too much paint. So I'm going to mix raw sienna with white, 2 raw sienna to 1 warm white. Remove some of that off my brush, and then we'll go along the top here and just create a little bit of a highlight edge. Again, go to a smaller angle brush. That would probably help immensely. So we're getting a little bit of a highlight there. I'm going to add a little bit more warm white. And make a couple of high places here. Maybe catching a little bit more light. If you feel like you get too much of any color, go back to your, you can go back into your burnt umber, oh goodness, and raw sienna mix and make a little wash. wash over anything that you feel you've lost that brown color that we started out with. Just a little wash, that's all you need. And tuck it into some of those areas that you feel like maybe you just lost just a touch. Okay, we can come back with some white and add some brighter details on here, but I think I'll hold off on that until we go a little farther on the painting. We could also darken along the bottom of the branch as well. I really kind of feel like right there needs to be darker, but we have those things coming down for the cherries that we're going to add, so we'll be adding some color onto that. So I'm not going to do anything more with the branch for now. All right, we're going to move on to our leaves now. So with our leaves for our shading color, we're going to mix our red and our green together. Green with a little bit of red. And that's going to give us a nice dark green that we can start creating our dark places on our leaves. So we'll shade at the base of the leaf. We've got a little turned edge. I'm going to see if I can get this big brush in here. Let me grab my smaller one. And this is turned here, so we want it shaded right there. Keep the smaller brush handy because I'll probably need it. And we're going to put just a little bit right there. Smooth that out. So find your shaded spots on your leaf, and that's where you want to put this color. While I still have this big one, I'll do these other two big leaves, and then I will go to my smaller angle. Right now I'm using a 1/2 inch angle. So this one we're going to shade back here. Let's see, which side do I want to be? I think I think the right side of the cherries will be the light side, so I'm going to bring some of this dark color down this edge. Grab my mop brush because that was a little choppy. Smooth that out, and then I'll do this other big one here. Now this is a folded leaf. Go around that cherry and down this back edge. We'll be creating the vein down this back edge as well, so this dark color will be good for our vein to stand up on that. So the folded area there, I'm going to have to bring in the smaller angle brush. So I'm going to switch over to my 3/8 inch. Okay, our mix is an equal mix of color here. So I'm just going to darken right along there. And then this leaf is also a folded leaf, so we're going to go along this edge here. Okay, I'll come back and do that folded part in just a minute. Mix some more, 1 to 1. Right there, right here. because it's folded right there. Up on the tippy toe of my brush, taking care of that right there. We're going to put a little bit here to give it that illusion of being folded over. Okay. Just mixing a little bit more. Using a faux squirrel angle brush, it tends to get a little bit drier, or be a little bit harder to hold the moisture in sometimes, I feel like. Okay, so on our leaves here, I'm going to create a kind of choppy edge there. If I can, I might have to go to a smaller angle brush and create these two kind of folded up leaves. So I think I will find my 1/4 inch angle. Alright, I've got my 1/4 inch angle. Equal mix. And I'm going to be straight up and down on the brush when I start, because that's a really tight place. Actually, I think I'm just going to stay straight up and down the whole way and just give it a little choppy kind of. So again, right along that edge. I want to soften that a little bit. Just create some choppy stuff here with the smaller brush. And I can bring it out just a little bit. And we'll add our highlight. It almost looks like a taco, folded up taco. So we'll just call those our taco leaves. Okay, so that is our shading on them, and we may come back in and darken, but that's a pretty good dark color right there. So we'll have to see after we add our highlights on there about darkening that up. But that's a pretty nice color. I still may go ahead and repeat a second time just in some key places, not everywhere. Alright, let's try a mix of our green, our blue, our raw sienna, and warm white. One of each. This is going to give us maybe 2 raw sienna. This is going to give us a little bit different, lighter green than what we were using. Let's see how this looks. That looks like a lot of paint. Not sure about this. Let me add a little bit more blue because I think I'm going to want the blue in here. So this is how you can experiment with some color. Even though I liked that first green, it's a little bit too dark. So we're going to do 1 green, 1 white, warm white, 2 raw sienna, and 2 of our aquamarine. 1, 1, 2, and 2. I think I like that color better. See if I can mix it again. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Okay, I want water on my brush here. work that in. And this kind of brings the background into our leaves a little bit, which I like much better. So we'll skip that olive color and just go straight to this color, because I think it really brightens things up much better. And then we'll put a little bit of it along this edge out here. Maybe, if I can get enough on my brush to come off. Staying up on the tippy toe, because I don't want to cover up all that shading that we did there on our little taco leaf. So yes, I like that mix much better. And then we'll go with a brighter highlight. Okay, I've mixed aquamarine, medium green, and warm white. 1 aquamarine, 1 warm white, 2 medium green. Let's see if this gives us just a slightly brighter highlight. I think we're going to have to go with another warm white here. So 2, 2, and 1. 1 aquamarine, 2 green, 2 warm white. And I just want this to be a subtle little highlight on here, so you don't have to put it everywhere. Just create some high places. Let me go down to my smaller brush here. That one's too big. 1, 1, 1, 2, and 2. Where was I? Just a little brightness on our leaves here. I'm just going to do it kind of sketchily, if I can get the paint to come off of my brush. Go back over and repeat any places that you need to. Kind of lost my little points here, so let's see if I can get some of those back. And definitely need more water for this outside edge. I think that'll do on the leaves. I come back with my shading here, which was the green and the red, and try and get these points back on here. Do this one too. Okay, now that I have this dark color on here, this is the opportunity to redo, like at the base of the leaves for sure. And this is that mix of red and green. Makes that dark green. We'll also be creating our veins here in a minute. So let's just go a little bit darker. And a couple of places. Right here for sure. And right here. Okay, our leaves are looking pretty good. Not a whole lot of steps to them. You can clean them up very easily. They're not our focal point. They're just added bonus on here, like many of the other elements are on here. Now, in cherry leaves, there's all these little vein things that come in there. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the center vein and keep it simple. So we're going to take, and the veins are kind of a bright green. This will also be close to the color that we do the cherry stems on. So we might just go ahead and mix them all. I'm going to put out some Hansa Yellow Medium for a little bit brighter color. We could take some of this too, and I probably will, along with some aquamarine, and just put some little dabs of color in our leaves. So we're going to take the yellow and the green and some raw sienna and make this pretty green. And we're going to create our center veins here. Definitely need more water in my paint here. So I think we'll have this one come from around the branch and down. Have a little bit more of that bright yellow in there, that Hansa Yellow Medium. Okay, now this one, it's going to come off of the end here and go right along this edge. Okay. We'll be darkening up the ends of the veins where it connects to the branch, but right now we're just getting some placement here. And just be creative with your where they come in from. They don't all have to come in straight from the branch. This one we also will go along the back edge here, just right along. That's where that vein comes into. We'll definitely be brightening those because they are not as dark as what I would like, but we can come in here and maybe not have that centered on that one and start adding our stems for our cherries. They'll be coming from the cherry itself. It's a little wider down here at the cherry. And then just bring it up. It doesn't have to come all the way to the branch. That's fine. And this cherry is going to come over that leaf there. Kind of coming off the end. So that's getting our stems started. Our veins, we're going to brighten on them and then darken where they meet at the branch itself. Okay, let's brighten on our veins. I'm going to use just the yellow And we're going to brighten in the center of our veins, maybe. If I can get some paint to flow here. Mix it with a little bit of water, see if I can get a better flow. I'm not going from end to end. I'm trying to stay in the middle of this vein. And this could go farther down because this vein would come all the way. And we'll not worry about the cherry stems until we finish up the cherries. Okay. Now to darken at these veins, we're going to take our burnt umber and raw sienna and mix them together. Okay, and where they meet the branch, I think I'm going to grab a small round. Where they meet the branch is where we're going to put this darker color. It's a mix of burnt umber and burnt sienna. And I'm just going to kind of dab it up. I'm doing just the leaf stems. I'm not worrying about the cherry stems yet because they will require a little bit more stuff going on with them. Okay, let's add a little bit of our blue. I'm going to go with my 1/4 inch brush. Just a touch of this blue. Maybe a little white mixed in with it. A little bright blue. And I'm just going to kiss this on our leaves in a couple of places. Bring that blue from the background in. You don't have to do every single leaf either. This is aquamarine and warm white. Just an equal mix of it. Just a little kiss of color. Wherever you want it on your leaves. Okay, maybe a little bit more of that blue in there. Yeah, there we go. Couldn't quite see the blue on that one. I like that little kiss of blue on there. So let's add a little kiss of yellow as well. Just in a couple places. Again, doesn't have to be on every leaf, although I seem to be putting it on every leaf. So definitely, whatever you want to do will be just fine. Just a little kiss of yellow. And it can go anywhere on the leaf. It doesn't have to go in any certain spot. Just that yellow is pretty transparent, so you can really kiss it on there anywhere and it will be beautiful. Okay, I think I'll take a little warm white and yellow now. I need to brighten up the veins just a little bit. Just right in the center. They weren't quite bright enough. And that definitely makes them pop. When I'm touching with my finger there, I'm just going to where I stopped and started and just kind of smoothing it out so it doesn't have a hard start or stop any particular place. Alright, I think that's going to finish up our leaves. I really like that extra little touch of that yellow and white mix to highlight those veins. Alright, I'm ready to start working on the cherries. I've got out a few colors of paint here. We've got our Hansa Yellow Medium, Naphthol Red, Burgundy, Quinacridone Violet, Dioxazine Purple, Aquamarine, Warm White, and White. Opaque White. Okay, so those are the colors I plan on using on my cherries. We won't need a whole lot, but we're going to start working on them. Okay, first thing we want to do is start adding a little bit of a shading color. Okay, so we're going to take our Naphthol Red and a little Burgundy, mix them together. Let's see if this is going to show up. We'll do 2 Burgundy, 1 Naphthol Red. This may not show up and we may have to add another color. So yep, that's not showing up, so let's grab some Dioxazine Purple and put in there. So we're going to have two Naphthol Red, 2 Burgundy, 1 Dioxazine Purple, and yeah, this was the shaded edge I wanted to do here. Now you want to stay within your circle so your cherries don't keep growing. And we're going to have a few layers going on here. So don't feel like you have to get everything done in the first go. So up here, we're going to have a little indent up here of some kind where our stem goes in. We'll be attaching our stem later, but for now that's where it's going to go. Definitely need to spritz some more water on my palette here. Okay, so here is where you have to determine, which once you have your line drawing, I will have it determined for you. But I want this cherry to be on top. Okay, so that one will be behind. So we'll start shading on this one. On the lower part of this cherry. Okay, and then this one, it can be tilted back that way to where we can't see where it connects, or we could see where it connects. I'm going to leave it tilted back there so we can't see it. And this is a very large brush to be doing that with, but we can clean it up later. Alright, I'm going to go around this cherry. Down here a little. Okay. Okay, again, this one, your choice, whether it's a fully visible top or not, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a valley in there, just by painting a little dark up there. Alright, let's go down here. Again, these are pretty close together, so they just barely touch here. So that was 2 red, 2 burgundy, 1 dioxazine. Makes that beautiful dark red. And I just brush mix because I'm okay if my colors are not exactly the same. Mix every time. As long as they've got those colors in it, it'll be fine. Because not everything in nature is perfect, so we don't have to make it be perfect. Shade this side a little bit more. Okay, so that's our initial shading on there. This one down here, these down here don't look quite as dark, so I'm going to grab a little bit more purple. Make sure that's dry. Yeah, just darken a little bit. Definitely don't want to go outside the lines on these. Want a good brush with a good tip on it. So if your brush is not got a good tip on it, you might want to get a new brush out. Alright, that looks better. Okay, that's our initial shading right there. Okay, we're going to be darkening that shading, but before we do that, let's go into a little bit of a wash of color. I'm going to take that quinacridone violet and make a wash of it. See if I'm going to like this color. I don't know. And I'm going to wash over the entire cherry with this color, and then we'll let this dry. I want my cherries to be a little bit more on the pink side. I don't normally like them to be so pinky. I like them to be red and rich and deep in color. But I thought for these I would just try something a little different with this wash of quinacridone violet. And it's mostly just water, a little bit of paint mixed in. You're just tinting the water, and when I mean a little bit, I mean tiny little bit, because you are seriously just tinting water here. See? It's just very sheer, very, very sheer. Okay, we have to let that dry completely. Okay, now that we're dry, let's work on adding some brightness on here. So I'm going to take the quinacridone and the Naphthol red and I think warm white. It's going to give us a light pinky color. another warm white. So it's 1, 1, and 2. Let's see how this is going to show up. That's definitely a more pink cherry right there. Okay, 1 Naphthol red, 1 quinacridone violet, and 2 warm white. And we're going to put this on our highlight edges. Ooh, look at that, so pretty. 1, 1, and 2. Blend, blend, blend. I'm going to put a little, well no, that one's kind of on top, so I'm not going to worry about that. I was going to put a little bit of a shadow there, but I think I'll just keep it bright. Oh, those are looking pretty. I love how they're bringing the background, making the background pop a little bit more now with that quinacridone violet mixed in there. So I think we're going to repeat that and brighten. 1, 1, and 2. Let's see if we can get that pink to pop a little bit more. Still have to do our shading again, but we'll work on these highlights, brighter colors for now. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. Smooth out with your finger. You know, if you've got a hard place that stops, you have to do it before the paint dries. Those are looking yum, yum, yum. Yum. Alright, we're going to darken the shading on here, and I'm mixing 2 quinacridone violet and 1 dioxazine purple, and we'll see how this is going to look. This should also bring our shading edge up to a little bit more of that pinky violet color. I'm going to get my mop brush so I can soften that a little bit, blend it where it meets that brighter pink. 2 violet, 1 dioxazine purple. I switched to a chisel brush because it had a little bit better edge on it than my angle brush did. But again, use the brush that works best for you. 1, 2, 1. Dioxazine purple and quinacridone violet are both more transparent colors, so they work beautifully. Oops, got outside my lines there, so let me clean that up. Damp brush. Oh, that's a very damp brush. That edge up. Okay. here. Mop that. And again, I got out of the lines because I got carried away with my mopping. Okay. Let's do our last one here. 2 quinacridone violet and 1 dioxazine purple. It's not looking more like a pinky purple, then add a little bit more of that quinacridone violet in there. And I'm going to mop that. Wow, those are looking really good. Okay, I'm going to start brightening with a mix of quinacridone and warm white, 2 warm white, and 1 quinacridone. We'll make it lighter than we had before. We might need to go a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to keep this like just in some key areas. Moisture in my brush here. Okay, quinacridone and 2 warm white. Use your finger. Fingers are there to help us smooth out our painting and sometimes even give a little texture. Don't be afraid to use those fingers. They really add some much needed texture and smoothing. I'm going to go back over here to these and repeat them. Drop of water there. Okay. So that's got our initial little bright highlight on there. I want to work on these areas up here where the stem comes into now. I think I'll stay with this same brush. I'm going to take my burgundy and a little bit of dioxazine purple and a lot of dioxazine purple and a little naphtha red. This was our initial shading color that we did. So I want to put a little bit down in here on those. I'm going to take my round brush, get it wet first, won't look dry. Oop, didn't want dioxazine purple, I wanted some white to there. I'm going to take Naphthol, quinacridone, and white. Because I want to create a back edge back here. Not that we'll probably see it after we add our stem. I'll go ahead and bring that stem down into the, let's see, don't remember what colors I used here. We'll bring that down into the cherry there. With our, let's see, it was medium green and hands of yellow. 1 to 2 is what we used up there on the stem. So I just thickened that stem just a little bit. I'll go ahead while I got the paint on my brush and before we, we're going to go and work on the stems, but before we go and do that, we're going to put another wash on these with that quinacridone violet. So we're just taking some water and grabbing a little bit of that quinacridone violet and making this little wash of color. And we're just going to put it on all of our cherries. Making these more pink cherries instead of more red. Okay, let's work on our stems now. So we're going to take that burnt umber. I'm going to get some fresh burnt umber out. Some burnt umber and raw sienna. Okay, let's mix the two together. And we're going to create this little thick thing coming off of the branch. That the stems kind of come off of. This is an equal mix of burnt umber and burnt sienna. Okay, just those rough little, almost like, I don't know, tornado type stuff. Okay, I definitely want to repeat that because it's not dark enough. I think I might add a little bit of red in there, or a little bit of blue, something to get it a little darker. And it's just a little wiggling on here. We'll add more detail here in a minute. But just a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out. And we're going to take the burnt sienna, tiny little bit of burnt umber in there. And we're going to add some of this color right here where it comes down. into our stems. Okay, I'm going to mix an equal mix of aquamarine, burgundy, and warm white. And we're going to create some little highlights on here. Just some little lines. Equal mix. Use a detail liner. I'm using a small round. And you can use a small round, but you can use a detail liner. Okay, so that was with an equal mix of aquamarine, warm white, and I already forgot what I said. Burnt umber. Not burnt umber, burgundy. So aquamarine, warm white, and burgundy, an equal mix. Right there for our beginning highlight on those little wiggly areas there. Okay, now I'm going to just go into a little bit more warm white. And I'm going to mix that in there. See if this is going to be too light. We just want to dab this color just along that edge of that blue you put on there. Don't fill your blue in. Don't fill it in. Okay, just a little dab, dab, dab. Get a little bit more paint on my brush here. Just a little dab. This is the highlight edge. So a little dab will do ya. I think I might go in there with just straight warm white. And just along. Ooh, had a lot of water. Just along that edge right there. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Just a little dabby dot. Focus. Alright, that looks better. Wide angle out. Let's go ahead and finish out the stems while we're here, and they can be done. So I want to bring that burnt umber and raw sienna mix from the cherry up. A little bit more raw sienna, I think. If your green is very dark, you'll want to go just straight raw sienna. I got to put some green back in there because I don't want to lose my green. That is a very short stem for that cherry. Should have put it up or brought it down a little lower or moved it up. So I'm going to grab some of my medium green and just use some of that in here. It's a little bright, so you can tone it down with a little bit of the burnt sienna. I don't want to lose my green though. Okay, and then we'll take some of the bright yellow, or the Hansa Yellow Medium. Now remember, it's a transparent color. Get the moisture out of my brush because I want to use this straight paint. Because it's transparent, I don't want a lot of... Actually, I'm going to mix some warm white with it so I can make it a little bit more opaque. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this on here. Use your detail liner if you need to. Okay. That looks pretty good on the stems. I think that will finish the stems up nicely. I think we'll finish the stems with a little opaque white on here. And give them just a little bit. Just a couple places. Okay. Now that we've done the stems, we've done almost all the cherries, I see that I want to add a little bit of that white onto my leaves. So I'm just going to softly load a little bit on the corner. And we can put some white on our highlight edges. This is a very soft color, so it will probably fade down in there quite a bit. But it will just give us a little pop of a highlight on them. Don't put it everywhere, you're just going in a few places. I don't like that one on the edge right there, so I'm going to move it in. I'm going to move it into here. Just put a little bit on there. Now's a good time to go in and erase your graphite lines. I have a lot of lines that I did not follow or paint over. So I want to make sure that they get erased before I varnish, because then they'll be in there. If you haven't gotten paint over them, they'll come off real easily. Alright, erase your shavings, be sure and sweep them away from your paint. Preferably over your trash can. Okay. Alright, let's finish up the cherries with our bold, bright highlights here. We're going to add a little blue on them too, I think. So I'm going to take my warm white first, work that into my brush, and just give a bold stroke on there. Don't be afraid of it, just do it. This will fade down in there a little bit. I've got water in my brush, so it's keeping this paint soft. Okay, so we've got a beautiful begin to our highlights here. Okay, that's dry, so now we're going to take our opaque white and side load, and we're going to brighten. I'm trying not to make it as wide as what my first one was. It's always hard when you're using the same brush. I want a little bit of highlight down there. I really don't want a lot of moisture in my paint when I'm doing this. That's a a dry edge there. Be a little creative with your highlight. Don't be controlling with it. It's a fun little step on here. And our highlights don't have to be bright, or, I mean, they do need to be bright, but they don't have to be controlling. Alright, I want to put some, I think first I'm going to put a wash of Naphthol red on here. I like my cherries this purpley color, but I want to put a little bit of this red back in here. So I'm just going to put a little bit here and there. Okay. It's going to give just a little punch of color as it dries. So I got to get this dry before we can add our final color on here. Okay, let's darken on the dark edge just a little bit. Quinacridone, Dioxazine purple, and burgundy, and you can add a little bit of quinacridone in there. I want this to be a little darker. So I'm using burgundy and dioxazine purple, an equal mix, but if it's too much purple, then add a little bit more of the burgundy. This is definitely going to richen up. It's going to darken up and make these cherries look a little more rich in color. Now, if yours are already as dark as what you would like them to be, this step can be omitted. So this is just if you feel like they need a little bit more on there. That one I feel needs just a touch more. Need to shape it a little better too. Not that cherries are all perfect. Delicious. Okay, our final little thing we want to do is add some blue on here. Just in a couple of places, the aquamarine blue. I'm going to take my round brush and load it up and then offload, because I really just want to dab some of this on here and then kind of blend it out with my fingers. Just pick a place. You want to put a little bit of blue in there. I think that needed a little bit more. Get all this other paint off my finger here. That's going to cause some issues. Where's my eraser? Just got paint down in here in between. Let me try that again. With my blue. I do need a little bit of moisture in the paint here. Just dab it on. Trying to smooth it out. That looks pretty good. Come back in and add a little bit more. You can leave this completely off of it. You do not have to add this blue on here. You can make the blue a little lighter by adding some white to it and adding it more on the highlight edge of it. But I think they look pretty good. Pretty darn good. You want to put a little bit more red stuff in here. This is Naphthol red and quinacridone violet mixed together. I'm just tapping it in. This is how you, if you feel like you've lost your red, this is how you can bring it back. Just tap it in here and then use your finger, kind of smooth it out. And I do feel like the white could be just a little brighter. I really like the textury part of highlights. I think it makes it looks like it's bouncing off of the item a little bit more organically and not just a flat little highlight. I think that's going to finish up this one. Let's take it off the easel and see how it looks. I think it looks good. We really brought those background colors into the painting. A little bit more blue could be seen in the leaves. So I'll take that blue and a tiny bit of white. I can get white on my brush. Goodness. I'm having trouble getting a good mix there. Want a little bit more of the teal to shine through, that aquamarine. So once you've got everything you can really tell what needs a little punch of color on there. Okay. Get a little bit darker, a little bit more opaque on the leaves here. So I'm just grabbing the mix again that we used, and definitely want it to be a good value where it comes into the leaf itself. Alright, I think I'm going to call that a finished project. What have I titled this? Cherry season. It's cherry picking season. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up, like, share, comment. Please subscribe. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for watching and painting along. I hope you're going to paint this one. I love the background. One of my favorite backgrounds to do is the bokeh effect. So you can do it in so many ways, and I've done it in a few paintings. So go check those out on my YouTube channel, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.